Ahoy there, mateys! Welcome aboard the Riff, Raff podcast. We are the pirates of the Neurospicy waters. Come along with us and hoist the sail. We're navigating life through story and tale. We'll help you embrace the way you're wired, sharing laughs and lessons to get you inspired. If you join us, we will help you see there are a lot of ways to sail the Neurospicy sea. Ahoy there, mateys! Welcome aboard the Riff Raff podcast. We are the pirates of the Neurospicy waters. Come along with us and hoist the sail. We're navigating life through story and tale. We'll help you embrace the way you're wired, sharing laughs and lessons to get you inspired. If you join us, we will help you see there are a lot of ways to sail the Neurospicy sea.
There have been podcasts that we've done that starts with laughter, and this apparently is going to be one of them. So, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Across the Desk. My name is Elizabeth Plouffe, and I am the host of Across the Desk, and we are launching a brand new podcast with our team. We are in the preliminary naming discussions, but we're going with Riff Raff right now, and that'll make more sense in a couple of minutes. So, I would like to introduce you to our team, and then they're going to do a little how do you do? So we look like the BradyBunch right now. So I'm going to go to my bottom and Maddie Dever.
Hello, I'm Maddie Dever. I am the Autistic Rambler. I'm an autistic adult. I'm a parent of 4 autistic young adults living in rural Eastern Ontario. I'm also the chair of the National Autism Network and involved in many various and sundry things related to autism and disability across this great country of ours.
And we did a list the other day, so I can attest to the myriad and sundry.
Ever increasing list of tentacles going across the world.
Ooh, world domination. I like it. Mr. Coleman.
Hi. So my name's Paul. I'm just Paul. I don't have any real kudos to attach to my name or anything, but I am adult diagnosed ADHD, and that came about through my 4 wonderful children, and I have 1 that is diagnosed autistic and 3 that are diagnosed ADHD. So my life experience is what goes behind my name, I guess.
Well, but you're also the founder of Creation Designs. You are a successful entrepreneur that runs your own video creation and e-learning design company.
Yes.
And you're heavily involved in your community. And just a secret note, which Paul knows I'm going to out him about, he's also a certified card-carrying, coat-wearing Santa Claus.
Ho, ho, ho.
So if he doesn't mention it, does that make him a secret Santa?
He's a bit of a secret, but he's not so secret. At some point, we will share pictures of Paul as Santa because he's just so cute. Okay. Sydney Elaine Butler.
Yes, so I'm Sydney Elaine Butler, and I have my own business called Accessible Creates, and I have a background in human resources and realized that human resources wasn't truly inclusive and accessible to people with disabilities and that are neurodivergent, such as myself. I'm autistic and also live with other disabilities. And so really trying to find my voice and help other people find their voice in this world.
That was really nice. So my name, as I said before, Elizabeth Plouffe, founder of Spiro Canada and founder of Socially ASD. Spiro focuses on building employment solutions with the neurodivergent community through asking, listening, and being creative. We focus specifically on changing things with service providers. We also focus on manufacturing and trades and making sure that neurodivergent individuals understand that trades is an option, and helping trades-focused employers understand that what they did in the 1950s is not okay anymore. I have 2 kids. My son Thomas is autistic, dyslexic, and ADHD. And my daughter, we're not sure she's my twin. And so what I'm about to tell you says that it's likely true for her. But, when my son was diagnosed, it was brought to my attention that ADHD is genetic and that I might want to, take a peek at that. Didn't have time. If you happen to be the parent of neurodivergent individuals who have multiple diagnoses, you know that your time is not your own. And you spend a lot of time in assessments and doctor's appointments and various things. So I didn't pay attention. And I thought everybody's brain went at 100 miles an hour. And I thought everybody's brain saw patterns. And I thought everybody's brain had struggles reading social cues, which is an ADHD trait, by the way. I thought everybody overthought what they said and how they said it and how they showed up. And I should have said it differently and apologized for things that other people don't even notice. I thought that was what everybody did. And it turns out that's not true. And then I found my report cards this year. And I'm of a vintage where girls didn't have ADHD. So instead, I was labeled bossy and lazy and unable to focus and not living up to my potential. And why can't I get organized? And why can't I turn my work in on time? Why can't I follow the rules? Why can't? And my report cards helped me make sense of that. Because as I encountered more and more need for my executive function to show up and organize me through, more and more workloads and things like that, it just started falling off the rails. Life stuff that happened as well, but mainly it was because nobody saw what I actually needed. So what we're kicking off with today is, what is neurodivergence? If you're just joining us and you haven't put a toe into the neurodivergent community before, or you don't happen to be neurodivergent or whatever, strap in because it's going to be fun. If you are neurodivergent, welcome. This is a safe space. We are not a judgy group. It's going to be a lot of joking. There's going to be some swearing. Not bad swearing, but there's the odd shit does escape. And we're going to mainly, hopefully, inform and entertain and educate and create a community where folks can share these stories. The more we share these stories, and as Sydney pointed out, the more we give things a voice, the less alone we feel. And our main goal is to try and create community and try and create a space where, if you thought your brain always worked a certain way and that everybody else's did too, and why is life hard? Okay, let's talk about that. Let's figure it out, because it took me until 55 to figure out that there was a reason Elizabeth got in trouble a lot. I was that kid that got sent out of the room or whatever, and told not to correct the teacher.
We're a bunch of salmon swimming upstream, but we're facing an ocean.
That was a good one. So, for context, Maddie has a propensity for punning, and we, for the most part, encourage. But sometimes you'll hear us go, "Nope, that didn't land," and we're not picking on them. We are just creating boundaries.
Being straight and honest. Yeah.
Being straight and honest, which is the trait. So if we were to jump in, so we've had multiple diagnoses shared. Maddie, do you want to kick off with, I'm just going to take this as you will, your version of autism?
Oh, the flavor of autism in our family. So it's back 44 years ago, back in the day,
7 years ago,
back in, as my 17-year-old daughter would say, back in old timey time,
when I went uphill through the
exactly. I was diagnosed with ADHD. I was a very precocious, hyper gifted child that moved around a lot. I'm not a child anymore, so I was a child. Right, there you go.
That's what's changed.
Yeah, not much has changed, but I I was into everything, moved around a lot, went through. I was a very different child, and it was hard for people to put figure me out because I was this incredibly smart kid who did not sit still in class. All of the things that Elizabeth said in her report card were in mine too. And over time, bullying happened. My teen years were pretty wretched, and the happy-go-lucky kid that could do anything, was going to do anything, went to a large depression. And in my adult years, I struggled between these incredible highs and these absolute lows. Having great things, losing friends, never being able to sustain things, and then I had kids and started, yeah, there's a lot in between there, but it's all of a sudden, whoa, kids, like they just appeared. Sometimes it feels that way when you look back at life 50 years later.
One just went by.
Waters.
Oh, yeah, that's right. One of them's here today. Stop feeding them cheese, right?
I'm telling you.
Exactly.
Mine are still home. Cheese.
We had a journey of neurodivergence with each of my kids. Yeah, starting with my oldest at 2.5, 3 was diagnosed with autism. And
question. Diagnosed with autism or diagnosed as autistic? The only reason I'm asking that is I just want to get the language.
Okay, so the language I use identity first language when we're talking about people. So I am autistic, right?
Yes.
I am diagnosed with autism. I am diagnosed with this. The diagnosis is a fact, right? The label is attached to me, but I am autistic. I don't have autism. That's where the delineation is. So when I'm talking,
have and the with that.
Okay. Exactly. So when I'm talking about the diagnosis, I'm going to say diagnosed with. So after that point, I'm just going to say my autistic kid. But when I'm talking about the when they were diagnosed, they were diagnosed with autism. They were diagnosed with ADHD. Mm-hmm. They were diagnosed with having an attitude problem.
Believe me, I have one of those upstairs.
Exactly.
I just wanted, the reason I'm pointing that out, is that Maddie's got an incredible talent around language and around paying attention to how language shows up. So what I want to try and do is be consistent and set that from the get-go so that we also get it right. I'm probably the only one that got it wrong, but that's the only reason I interrupt. Go.
Yeah, no problem. So my oldest son was diagnosed with autism around 3 years old. Then we had his sister, who was diagnosed with ADHD really young as well. Oh my God.
We're going to keep it high level.
You thought I was hyper. Then another kid later, diagnosed. My third child, second daughter, was diagnosed at 5.5, and with autism and ADHD. And then my last daughter, the one that's just keeps walking by like a ghost, she was diagnosed as 6 as well with autism. So during this journey of my kids being diagnosed, I'm seeing their childhood reflecting my childhood, and everybody telling me, have you thought about maybe that you might be autistic yourself? And I went through that process of going through a diagnosis myself. And a lot of the things that I went through, a lot of the diagnosis, like I was diagnosed with a lot of things. There's a lot of letters after my name that just didn't ever really make sense. But autism did, and it allowed me to reframe my childhood and understand myself more than just ADHD. The ADHD always made sense, but everything else didn't. And seeing my kids and seeing their journey made me really want to help them not experience the same things that I was experiencing and fixing the world so that their adult lives, their kids' lives would be significantly better and more hopeful than mine was.
Thank you. That was awesome. I appreciate that very much. Paul, do you want to jump in?
Sure. So my son is a childhood stroke survivor. He was, we're not really sure if it was in utero or right after he was born that he had his stroke, but so he has cerebral palsy, right hemi, so he has limited use of his right hand. And for years, we were told that his speech pattern, his different parts of his personality were because of the stroke. And it wasn't until he was diagnosed autistic that everything kind of clicked. That, yeah, he has right hemi, but so many of the rigidity issues, he's very rigid. I use lawn cutting as an example. When I first taught him how to cut the grass, I showed him, go back and forth. To go back now and say, hey, could you cut this outside to inside?
What? Cause another
Nope.
Cause another CVA.
Oh my.
Yes. So so getting that diagnosis for him really helped me understand him in a much better way. It was like a light turning on. It was amazing it changed our relationship greatly. Now I told you that I'm diagnosed ADHD, but that's by a doctor. But if you ask my kids and my wife, they've diagnosed me autistic because a lot of the rigidity, a lot of the speech
For you,
patterns.
it's partly the social stuff too, though, right?
Pardon?
So, for context, I've known Paul for 5 years now. 6. I've known Maddie for 7. And Sydney and I met last year, just around this time.
Mm-hmm.
So Paul and I have done events together as part of various, look at their face. So we were at an event, and I have really acute hearing. There's a reason I'm interrupting Paul, because I'm supporting 100% where he's going with this. Even with a busted ear, I have very acute hearing. And we were at a very busy event, and all I can hear is this click, 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 click. I'm like, what the shit? And Mr. Coleman is standing beside me with a little flicky chicky thing in his pocket because it was overwhelming. And he was doing an incredible job of handling over all that. Like there was, I don't know, that day there was about, that was Level Up in Hamilton. There was easily 3,000 students and a lot of noise and a lot of sense and a lot of talking. And it was all new for Paul, this particular event and how, whatever it was. And he did an amazing job. I mean, that clicker almost got him killed, but you did a great job and you showed up. And you and I have had these conversations where you see now those kinds of things. What would you say? Go ahead, sorry.
Sorry, you were going to say, what would you say?
What would Colleen say?
Oh, no doubt in her mind.
Isn't it funny how we're the last sometimes to see it?
And it's just a matter of I haven't gone through the process of getting a diagnosis. At this stage of life, it's less important for me. So we've been focusing on our kids and their needs. Eventually, I probably will go down that path, but just tell you, you mentioned that we just met 6 years ago, but you've helped me on a path of self-discovery that I am so grateful for.
Start with me.
As you know, I lost my mom a few years ago, and it's the report card thing that you talked about. We were going through her house and found my old report cards, and
they're a kicker.
It was, Paul only does his work when he has a tight deadline, or when he's punished by not being able to go out to recess. Then he can focus on it. Paul has so much trouble paying attention. It was my report cards read like a diagnosis. I didn't get it, right? Yeah.
And my personal favorite was Elizabeth follows the rules when it suits her.
That's your epitaph.
That was in nursery school, people.
Yeah.
I was like, and nobody.
So it was.
Thank you for that.
It's been quite eye-opening for the last few years, and I don't want. I've said this to you before. I don't want to see people struggle and not understand why they're struggling. Like it's, there's a lot of parents and stuff out there that refuse to get their kids diagnosed. So they don't want that label. They don't want to be identified, right? But I'll tell you, it's like a weight was lifted off. Like I'm allowed to be weird now.
Aw, well, you were always. I mean,
it's not that I'm allowed. It's I allow myself to not.
Oh, that's a huge decision.
Not label myself as weird. Like I give myself that freedom.
We took weird in our house because I identify as weird. And from my kids for a very young age, I said, let's be really clear. Weird is not a bad word in this house.
Mm-hmm.
We don't ever use it as a slag. We don't, because weird, I wish the world was filled with more weird people and who let their weird out in a pot, like don't hurt anybody, all those things. But in this house, it is okay. There's nothing wrong with being weird. And quite frankly, I would question your DNA if you weren't. So, I'm glad you shared that, Paul. Thank you. It's turning into a therapy session.
Speaking of weird, so I know exactly where I'm going with this. I was a weird kid in an arts program. I was an art. So
I love that you said that yesterday, and I was like, "That's hard."
Yeah, that's like weird squared.
So I was in an arts program in middle school, which was for dance, visual arts, drama, music. And I was still seen as the weird kid in that program. There was also other students that weren't in that program that thought I was extra weird. And there was, and weird. Then in the art program, they also thought I was weird. And so I've always been, I want to say hyper empathetic. And so for context, my mom is a nurse and I'm also biracial. So my dad is white and my mom is black. And so she's like, it's really hard for Black women on earth and in life. And then I got the diagnosis of autism when I was 6 years old and had to go to speech therapy, walked on my tippy toes, had to go to physiotherapy to help with that. And I got some tight muscles from walking constantly on my tippy toes. But all these time I was seen as weird or as different and didn't know it was my normal. So I knew I looked different to the other classmates or even to some of my teachers, frankly. They were like, but it was my normal. And I knew when I would get I would get some accommodations in school and sometimes I wouldn't, depending on the teacher, and there was no consistency.
Yeah.
And a lot of times too in classrooms, I wouldn't be able to sit still. I would if I was only passionate about the work, but I was like, oh, this topic's interesting. Then I would do a really good job as kind of, I think, the rest of you have spoken about. And most importantly, I've always been hyper aware of other people struggling or people not doing their best. And so sometimes in class, there'd be other classmates that were having meltdown. Now I have this language, and recognizing that the teacher doesn't have a capacity to deal with those incidents. And so I would be taking it on myself to be like, okay, we're going for a walk. Bye. And sometimes take a washroom
I'm going to
pass.
kidnap a kid. I'll be right back.
They're about to throw a chair, and
we
recognizing.
Sorry.
But, just like all these different things, it's like recognizing that my innate skills and traits that I have were seen as too much sometimes, or seen, it's like, it didn't make sense in the context of what was happening. I was like, I never wanted someone to struggle. But then I was struggling, and now, I was masking for so long and certain aspects. And I also said that I was kind of like a chameleon. I would kind of try and blend in to not be seen as weird. But sometimes I get too hyper excited, or I wouldn't want to wear the mask all the time, or the mask would fall. And so then I would be seen as too much. Or like, but you didn't act this weird yesterday. A couple people have said that to me, and recognizing that
Sorry, but that's like,
yes, and me just being me, right? And it's like, who do you want me to be? Who do I want to be? And for so long, that was so blurred. And recognizing that when I was really struggling, sometimes I felt like I couldn't speak up. I was like, I just have to deal with it on my own. I have to, keep pushing forward.
who shows up as the same every day anyway?
Exactly.
So what the heck?
Recognizing that we all, I'm like, now I help companies and help people understand that everyone has good and bad days, neurodivergent or not, disabled or not. We all have good and bad days. We're all human beings. We all have nuances in our day-to-day experience. And so really, what does it mean to be a human trying to create a life for ourselves that we can be proud of?
Sometimes you're out of spoons. There are days, and I discovered this the other day. One of the incredible things since meeting Maddie and getting involved with the Autism Alliance of Canada and working more and more with neurodivergent folk, I tend to focus on 18 plus. I have never been good with ongoing exposure to little kids. I like my own, but I'm not a fan of other people's. So that was never going to be my focus. And it's been interesting to learn more and more what that means and how that shows up. One thing we need to jump in here with, and thank you everybody for your stories. I don't know. Did I already share mine? I feel like I did.
Yes.
I think so, yeah.
I will clarify. My husband is also dyslexic. So our kids statistically were screwed from the get-go because there was no way either of them were getting out of this without some kind of genetic anomaly. So my husband was diagnosed dyslexic at 12, left school at 16, he had a lot of life before I met him, which has been great because he's very self-sufficient and independent and what have you. But that left him with a lot of shame and a lot of less than, because he is also very bright. But reading and writing has never been, I became his Siri before Siri was a thing, because he'd shout to me from some part of the house, how do I spell X? And I used to teach medical office administration. So I can spell words like hysterosalpingo-oophorectomy.
How do you even say that?
Anti-disestablishmentarianism. Let's go.
Yeah, carefully and in order. But when life gets too much and I run out of spoons, my ability to stay organized and my ability to stay focused goes for a complete shit. And that's one of the first things. If I'm under undue stress, my ability to filter and my ability to keep space organized can be a struggle. So my office was an absolute disaster for the last 6 months because things changed at the company. I ended up moving out of my office, stuff was changing at home and whatever. And I literally had no energy or capacity to sort it out. And that over the last 6 weeks has changed. And so now that ability to focus and organize and prioritize is back online, which is great, because when it's not, it's really not. And it's very shame inducing. And it's not a great place for my mental health or anything else. what we didn't start with, if you're new to neurodivergence, I'm going to do some Merriam-Webster talking right now. So autism is defined as a neurodevelopmental condition of variable severity. And by the way, we really are not a fan of medicalized models, but this is what we've got right now. With lifelong effects that can be recognized from early childhood, chiefly characterized by difficulties with social interaction and communication and by restricted or repetitive patterns of thought or behavior. That I would say, other than the language, is true. Like there's nothing in it that's...
The one thing I would add, when you're thinking of the repetitive behaviors, one aspect of it that is incredibly part of autism, but is not clearly mentioned with just that thing, sensory. The sensory challenges is part of that. Is part of the diagnosis.
Yeah,
and
we'll deep dive into what that.
Just wanted to clarify that that's in there.
Yes, we're not leaving it there, but we do need to add this part.
Yeah.
So ADHD stands for attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Mine is considered ADD inattentive. I don't have the hyperactivity component where I have to keep moving and whatever. It also shows up differently for women. In that women, it tends to be more of a mental process versus a physical expression. So that's not covered here. People with ADHD have differences in how their brain develops and works. This may cause problems with their attention, ability to sit still, and practice self-control. All of that is related to dopamine and dopamine receptors and all kinds of other stuff that we're going to get into. Dopamine's a super fun little roller coaster. That little effer will get you. Dyslexia is defined as a neurodevelopmental difference that mainly affects the ease with which a person reads, writes, and spells, typically recognized in early childhood. It can also be dyscalculia and dysgraphia. Dyscalculia is difficulties with math. Hate math with a passion unparalleled. And dysgraphia is difficulties with handwriting. And when it's defined there as difficulties with writing, that is the spelling component as well. But dysgraphia in particular, which my son is diagnosed with, his brain literally cannot tell his hand how to write things. So he cannot do cursive, cannot read cursive, and still prints not great. My husband, on the other hand, has beautiful penmanship, can't spell worth a crap, but it looks great. So
my younger brother used to call it that cursed writing.
Not wrong. I mean, I love cursive writing, but I don't have a challenge with it. And I never recognized until my husband how much reading we do every day. Mm-hmm. And because I'm a gifted reader, never realized there were folks who literally can't read a medicine bottle. It can be so bad. So I wanted to just get those definitions out there. All of us, I think, agree we trend away from the medicalized model of talking about it. So yes, we are going to introduce mental health as a part of the neurodivergent experience, but we've all agreed, like, none of us are medical professionals. Mm-hmm. I spent 13 years in healthcare, but that in no way qualifies me to talk about that. I can talk from my lived experience of being somebody with ADHD, what I've gone through with my kid for 27 years, my husband for 34 years, those types of things, and the individuals I'm lucky enough to work with and the individuals I'm lucky enough to support in a variety of ways. That's how we can talk about it. So when we go back into, could we talk about what being autistic is not, or being neurodivergent is not?
It's not Sheldon.
He's not the good doctor.
It's bits of Sheldon. It's bits of the good doctor.
Yeah. There's what I'm talking about. There's media stereotypes out there, yes. And autism really came about as a diagnosis of white little boys that weren't acting properly like white little boys should. And
damn white boys!
I know.
Guys are trouble.
And they can't jump, right? So,
That was good.
Or dancing.
It's probably because they're the white boys that
Maddie?
did jump and wouldn't stop jumping.
Oh, that's okay. That's good.
Thank you. I was going somewhere.
I know.
Yeah.
Sometimes the punning can get it. So I just want to qualify, folks. I'm not being rude, but sometimes the punning can progress. And so
some say I have panache, and some say it's just a bunch of pun aches.
And this is why we interrupt sometimes, because it can become a thing. So yes, most diagnoses nowadays, medical or otherwise, are based on white guys.
Mm-hmm.
All heart care, by the way, is based on white guys. And I will have to tell you, having a heart condition, I tell you I'm not a white guy. I know, shocker, right? So from an autism perspective on what it's not, we've had some conversations. I've spoken to our folks in socially ASD and whatever. What are some of the things you've experienced that people make assumptions about being autistic?
I think not that we don't have feelings. That's one of the biggest, and it's just like, I think I have hyper feelings, if anything. Like I feel everything so intensely, and I think sometimes it's just with the intensity of the emotions and the feelings, it's like it's almost like taking time to process it in some ways, or sometimes it's just like an immediate gut reaction is how you respond, or sometimes it's like I need time to process how I'm feeling about this, right? And that sometimes I think to people that don't have this experience, it translates into you're not reacting the way I thought you would to, and not having the feeling I thought you would have to this. Therefore, you must have no feelings, and that's not the case.
I think a lot of that comes back to the fact that we're more direct sometimes in our communications, hyper honest about things like, oh, that should have been my inside voice instead of my outside voice. So just because I'm direct with somebody doesn't mean that I want to have somebody direct with me. Just because I didn't get that social cue, and I called something as I saw it, doesn't mean that I want you to open up a can on me and point out all of my things, right?
Well, that's a really good distinction, because it can lay that. I happen to be somebody who can give it and get it. So I appreciate your direct, because, and I don't think it's commonly known, folks with ADHD can also struggle with social cues. So if our energy, so we made a distinction yesterday that I want to, and Paul's gonna laugh. So I have always been considered a very high energy person. And what I mean by that is I'm not always kinetically moving, but I bring a lot of energy into the room just by being there. And look at Paul. Suck your face in, Mr. Coleman. And so I never realized that, because that's just how I show up. I'm just like, hey, how you doing? And, we're good to go. Never realized what that can cause in other people. And then we had a discussion yesterday, and it was Sydney that brought it up. It's called throw chair energy. And so you'd have those kids in class with you that you'd be like, I wasn't that kid.
Yeah.
But if you torque me off, or if I'm passionate about something, I can accidentally, sometimes intentionally, give off what we are now lovingly called throw chair energy. Yeah. I'm 5'3".
You go from 0 to 60 in intensity in -1 seconds.
I know. I didn't know that before, though. I didn't know why. But I would have people tell me, you're really intimidating. I'm like, I'm 5'3". Like, what am I going to...
It's the red hair. It's the red hair.
You can have it, too. It is Schwarzkopf box, 6 whatever. But I never understood that. I never understood that intensity, which I think is why the ADHD thing was hard to diagnose, because I did not throw chairs. I was not running around at school and things like that. Mine was more attention focused, but intense energy focused. And Maddie has brought that to my attention before. We had a situation in a workshop we were running that just...
It had its moments in
It
sequence.
It had a moment. And I went from 0 to 60 in under a second. And I went from calm, cool, and collected to throw chair energy, came out like, wah! And I never understood the impact on others.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing. Never understood what that meant to others. And so to Paul's point, I am really okay with, I try very hard not to give at full intensity. And I'm far more aware of that now. And I try to remember to ask, do you need time to process that? I never assume that somebody needs that. And I would never ask that of anybody that I don't know. But once somebody discloses and advocates that they need time to process, I try and be very conscious. Whereas 20 years ago, I don't know that I would have.
You've been pretty good about that.
Yeah. You're also like realizing yourself sometimes that you need time to process. Like you realize like you have this intense like reaction to something, which you in the moment you realize you don't understand why that's there. Yeah. And then, a day later or a couple hours later, you've had time to process it. And you can come back saying, okay, I think this is why I reacted this way. And let's talk through it, which is massive.
I never
growth.
did that as a kid.
Yeah, that's massive growth.
I didn't know how to do that. I didn't have the language for that.
Yeah.
To Paul's point, sometimes people would be very direct. ADHD comes with a lot of second guessing. I would say being neurodivergent I'll put that out to the group. Would you say in your experience that how you show up in the world, how am I trying to put this? You second guess yourself a lot on how you reacted or Paul's nodding. Okay.
I used to. I don't do it as much now because ever since the diagnosis of autism for me and seeing my kids, I've understood myself. I've been able to look back at the path, at all of the challenges. It's other people telling me differently than what I'm thinking created this pattern of needing to second guess myself. Yes. I'm more confident in my skin. I'm more confident in myself. I know why I do things, and it's allowed me to change some of the things that I'm doing, especially my feeling of certainty over my actions and my words. That has been a change, but for 40 some years, everything was second guessed because I was constantly being told that my understanding things, my reaction, my things was wrong or missing or different or
why can't you?
Exactly.
Why can't
you? You should. You should.
Oh, don't bring that word, man.
Exactly.
Why can't you calm down? Yeah. Why can't you let it go?
Yeah.
Why can't you like all the why can'ts?
Yeah.
And I mean, I promised that we're not going to use really bad language, but I got to the point where I'm like, why can't you F off? Like if you see I'm not handling something well, coming at me and telling me to calm down, my personal favorite or whatever, probably not a good choice for you. And now I've gotten really good at saying, okay, I need to be very direct, that I'm having a hard time controlling my temper right now. And I need you to take a step back. I'm not threatening. I'm not whatever. I'm just letting you know this can go two ways. And if you want the calm me to have a conversation with you, I'm on board. But if you would prefer the other me to show up, she can come too. And at that point, I have less control. I have less filter. I have zero F's at that point. So I'll say whatever my brain needs to let out. And that's rarely productive. It usually ends up in hurt feelings somewhere.
Yeah.
Paul, you see that with your
Sailor kid? Liz comes out.
Oh, she's always at the surface because I cuss like a trucker. But Paul, have you noticed that with your kids? Like with you and Maddie having 4, that's very different than meaning that you've got more experience, right? Yeah. With one of the points we're trying to make here is that anybody who is neurodivergent, it is a singular experience. We're not ascribing characteristics or traits or whatever that every single person who's autistic has this and every single person who's ADHD has this. Every single person who's dyslexic experiences it this way.
Yeah.
And you're both in a really cool position with 4 kids who are all neurodivergent.
Yeah.
So, Paul, what would you say you see as maybe the differences between the way things impact your kids? And yourself, if you want to include yourself in that.
Sure. One of the really big impacts that I have is emotional dysregulation, especially when it comes to disappointment. So if I had plans to do something and they fall through or they don't go the way I wanted them to, I'm ready to burn the world down. Like,
I saw that once. It was scary.
I hate you. I'm ready to burn relationships to the ground. Like, that's where my brain goes, right? And I've struggled with that, especially as a kid. I was, I know people looked at me as unstable, right? And to some degree, that is something that I really struggle with. My one daughter has really severe emotional dysregulation. She, if things don't go her way, if things don't happen, she will burn the world down. She will tell you she hates you. She will tell you they're the world's worst parent. And thank God for my wife, because if you put the two of us in the room like that it would be very, it would get to a point where it would be very difficult to redeem that, because, and it's just in the moment, because I know that I'll go from like ready to burn the world down, and then once I'm able to regulate those emotions, I realize that no, these are the people that I love. These are like, this is ridiculous to even have felt that way. How could I have felt that way at the time? And then I see that in my own daughter as well. But my wife can recognize. I probably conditioned her for my daughter, because she can recognize that, and she can compartmentalize that a lot better than I can. Like if the perfect storm happens when I'm dysregulated and my daughter's dysregulated at the same time, it's
time to GTFO.
Yep, we have to walk away. Whereas my wife can compartmentalize that and go, I've never verbalized it like my daughter has. Like, I've never come out and told somebody I hate them and that kind of thing. But you can see I shut down, I get angry, I go rage clean or something, right? Slam dishes around in the sink for a while and do that kind of thing. Whereas my daughter will, tell you she hates you and all that kind of stuff. And my wife can compartmentalize that a lot better and recognize it right away. So those are some of the real struggles we've seen as parents, whereas my other kids, one of them will just completely shut down, or it's just interesting. It's fun.
Good word.
Yeah.
I have another one, rhymes with ducks, but anyway.
I don't give any clucks.
I give no clucks. Some days I don't give clucks. I've been there too. Sorry, Maddie, yeah. I'm jumping over. It's interesting because I didn't expect to take what my kids think of me so personally, which I know sounds odd, but my parents showed up very different, and I was loved. I was not abused. Like, please don't, like, I have had my share, but my mom in particular just loved me intensely. And I think that was hard to take upon reflection, to be loved and depended upon so intensely. I'm grateful and I'm lucky, but as somebody whose spoons can go a little wackadoo, I reflect now and I think, okay, that kind of makes sense. So I have to, like Colleen, compartmentalize myself and say to my kids out loud, I'm not your friend. In these kinds of situations where your behavior is not okay, I'm not your friend. And I'm not going to be friendly about this. I love you. I don't like you right now. Let's be clear. I will always love you, but I'm not going to like you every day. Just like you shouldn't like
Yeah.
me every day. Because sometimes I show up like a jerk, and,
Yeah.
and that happens.
Yeah. We were asking like what autism is not. Well, one of the myths out there is that all autistics are little perfect angels. No, autistics can be
Where
autistic.
is that
I know.
definition?
I
please?
know. I know. Okay, so like it's one of those. It's the infantilizing of autism. So you can be autistic and an asshole. Like they're not mutually exclusive.
That's really
So sometimes you're a little. Sometimes
that,
you can be a little shit, and you need to have that dealt with separately from the fact that you're autistic. So how you're dealt with as being a little shit needs to be done differently, but you're still, yeah.
Paul had to quit there. What was that, Paul?
Yeah, no, it's as a parent, it's easy to. Yeah, sorry. How do I put this? Kids can get away with stuff if they try and if you. Well, I just can't emotionally regulate, right?
Yeah.
Or you can forgive it by because they're autistic.
That never came out of my mouth.
They can play it. They can play it up. My son's playing it up.
My son did too. So Gideon. So I outed Paul's son, but we share redheaded. Is your son also green eyes?
Blue.
Okay. So, but we share redheaded, really cute little kids. And I don't know what it is about redheaded kids, but they can, the whole Oliver Twist, poor me, whatever bullshit. So Sydney,
So
as a kid,
well, I worked with kids that are autistic for 8 years. So, and teenagers.
yes.
So, while they're not my kids, I formed close bonds with a lot of these kiddos and these teenagers. Or even saw some of the teenagers. I've known them since they were kids and becoming a teenager. And
They're smelly.
They're smelly and they're more, they get more entitled and more.
Yes. Whoa. That's a whole podcast episode we need to do.
We'll talk about that another time, but
Exactly.
it's just
spoilers.
coming soon. But just recognizing that a lot of my coworkers, they had the savior complex of like we're here to save the.
Oh yeah.
And then, so when the kids were, I'm like, no, they know what they're doing. Like, they don't know what they're doing. They don't know that they're being me. They don't know that. I'm like, yes, they do.
Sometimes.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
How many times did I have to say to teachers, principals, vice principals, Thomas didn't know. Thomas didn't know. I'm like, are you out of your
Do you
mind?
see the smirk that there's and just like I had one participant one time that literally told me they were gonna do that. I'm like, don't do that. But then and then did it anyways to another coworker. And the coworker's like, oh, they didn't know what they were doing. Like, I don't know how to handle it. And I'm just like, they did that very intentionally to make you mad.
Yeah.
They wanted a reaction out of you, and they got it.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, they can't possibly know what they're doing. I'm like, they knew exactly what they were doing.
I'm
Yeah,
trying
the big
so
question
hard
is-
to suck
yeah.
this in my mouth right now, but I have to tell you.
Yeah. The biggest question in those times that a lot of folks that work with autistics just don't ask is why? Why did they do this? Like
Yes.
you're responding to the action, and perhaps your response is excusing the action, but if you're not asking why, what's behind it, you're going to see that pattern continue.
So here's what we'll begin to wrap up with, is that assumptive bias around helplessness, that assumptive bias around not understanding intention, that assumptive bias around capability, around right and wrong, and, oh, they didn't know, and all those types of things. We need to assure you on every level, both as neurospicy individuals ourselves, as neurospicy parents, as individuals who have worked with neurospicy, all of the above, please, for the love of all that is holy, Stop assuming just because somebody has a diagnosis that they are the same as the other person you know who might have that diagnosis.
Yeah.
Because one thing that gets trot out all the time, Dr. Stephen Shore, who is an autistic individual and an advocate and a researcher and whatever, and I can't remember when he said it, but he said, if you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism.
Yeah.
And that goes for anybody who is neurodivergent with any whether you meet somebody who has depression, has social anxiety, has like whatever.
Yep.
Don't ever assume you know how to help. Don't ever assume you shouldn't help. Don't ever assume, like, those assumptions cause harm.
Yeah.
Let's be really clear about that.
Yeah.
Because my son was the victim of assumptions. Sorry, Maddie. Was the victim of assumptions. And I will say victim for years through public school and through high school. And I had to fight tooth and nail. I have a whole book written on the crap I had to, because it was, please understand that a diagnosis has a place, that a label has benefits. Stigma does not.
Yeah.
A label does not entitle you to place your biases or stigma on anybody. Maddie just said such an important thing. Why is the best, not why, like why, but why?
Yeah.
Have an experimental mindset and be open to why when you meet somebody who chooses to disclose that they might be autistic, they might be ADHD, they might be ADHD, where they are both autistic and ADHD. They might also have a learning difference. I know. Ding, 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 ding. They might. Whatever somebody chooses to be vulnerable and share with you, park your assumptions at the door. Get curious and find out what that person's experience is with their diagnosis. Sorry. Now I'm done. I'm not, but I am. I'm done with that particular rant, and we're over half an hour.
Yeah. This is the thing about us. It's a neurodivergent 30 minutes.
Yeah, we talked about that yesterday. There's a new time in town.
Yes. So in case you, we record it every once in a while. We have a meeting. We're discussing what we're going to talk about in the podcast, and all of a sudden somebody says something, and we say, "Should we hit record?" And we end up with an impromptu podcast. So this is the first podcast in the series, but we recorded one yesterday. Unfortunately, Paul wasn't there because it wasn't a planned thing.
That's why this is the first, and that's sort of
So we're the podcast you'll hear or watch later is actually later in the series, but it was recorded first, so it's very timey-wimey.
Wibbly wobbly.
Not sure where that was going, but that's okay.
Yeah.
So what our goal was today was to introduce, our lived experience around neurodivergence, to introduce you to the main ones that we deal with, because we want to stay in our lane. And yes, other things will come up, but none of us are mental health professionals and what have you. So when we talk to you from our lived experience, yes, from our professional experience, and expertise that we have gained over the years of living as neurodivergent individuals, supporting kids in whatever capacity that looks like, working in the industry and what have you. The main thing is we want to make sure that people start to gain an informed picture versus, and Maddie's fantastic at pointing this out, actually everybody is, around what a neurotypical lens looks like over top of talking about neurodivergence. And it makes a difference. Lived experience makes a difference. And there's value in what that is and how that can inform so many things. So, and by the way, Maddie, you've gone fuzzy.
Well, the computer tells me that the end result will be pure and pristine.
Sure.
I see myself as very clear and not greeny, although I'm getting a little bit more gray.
So anyway, folks,
On that note,
we need to find a signature goodbye thing. But on that note, we have a ton of more information to come. It'll pretty much be the same format. It'll pretty much be the same people. One of the reasons we're doing this as a group is so everybody runs their own businesses in addition to working with Spiro and working on Spiro projects and doing these kinds of things. And so we don't want anybody to be in a position where they feel like, if I'm not there, it's not going to happen. So you'll see a melange of us over the next, looks like a year. Go from there. We'll be rich and famous by then. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
We can create avatars. They'll come in and do it for us. And AI will just take over everything.
AI. Oh.
Any final words, folks? Now you're all quiet.
Have the tissue box handy. Have a bag of popcorn in hand, and stay tuned because we're gonna go deep and wide into the world of neurodivergence and all of the ways it connects us.
There's the mountain blowing. Yeah, anyway, Sydney, we'll get that because that was a Girl Guide song.
yes, I got it. I got it.
Yeah. Oh, and we may break into song here and there.
That is a thing.
Yeah.
Paul?
I'm good.
That's Paul's motto in life.
Yep.
Good. I'm done. So thank you for joining us, everybody. We really appreciate it. You've just met the crew of the Riff Raff. We will be joining you on a weekly basis, and all kinds of stuff. All kinds of stuff. And Maddie's right. There are periodically tears because when you are unpacking things that have happened, and as folks have shared, and you're in a safe space, sometimes your emotions leak out of your eyeballs, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks very much. Everybody want to say goodbye?
Bye.
Jazz hands.
Bye. Jazz hands. Hey, this is Elizabeth Blue from Spiro Canada, one of your pirates on the Riff Raff podcast team. My fellow pirates include Maddie Dever from Autistic Bridge, Sydney Elaine Butler from Accessible Creates, and Paul Coleman from Creation Designs, who is our very own Arctic LARPing Santa. Thank you for joining us on the Neurospicy Seas, and we wish fair winds to you all.